My name is Tanya Fluke. I'm with the Office of Career and Technical Education, and today I am presenting a session for the KACTE conference regarding the Kentucky Tech Systems Data Exchange, the KTS Data Exchange grade sync troubleshooting topic. So this session will cover the best ways in which to analyze and resolve grade syncing issues that are associated with the KTS Data Exchange. And they'll discuss the possible scenarios that could cause any type of grade syncing issues. So what I'd like to do first is I want to show you the KTS Data Exchange webpage, because I feel like you're going to get a lot of information that a lot of useful information that you can go back to on this KTS Data Exchange webpage. You can get to it by going by doing a search for Kentucky Department of Education. Once you do that, just click on the home page. Once you get to the KDE's homepage, you're going to go to the top right corner under search and type in KTS Data Exchange. And if you scroll down under the search results, the top result there, go ahead and click on that. And that'll take you directly to the KTS Data Exchange webpage. You can bookmark this, save it to your favorites, however you want to save that, depending on whatever browser you're using, so you can get back to this site quickly. But on the right-hand side, under System Administrator Setup heading, there is a document here called Grade Sync Troubleshooting Guide. This is a 3-page document that walks both the technical school and the high school through the processes in which to resolve grade syncing issues. So basically, let me lay out a really quick scenario for you. The high school has figured out that grades are not syncing correctly. So they reach out to the technical school principal or administrative assistant and say, hey, we've got an issue. We're not receiving grades from you. What do we need to do? The first thing that both parties need to do, both the high school and the technical school, is go to the KTS Data Exchange webpage here and open up this Grade Sync Troubleshooting Guide document. Once you all have this document opened, you can go through the processes of checking to see where the issue may lie. If you are on the high school side, you should receive KTS error messages, and they will populate in the process alert area of your Infinite Campus homepage. So for those of you all who don't know where the process alert area is, I'm logged in right now to our Sandbox site. I can tell you that if you go to your homepage when you log into Infinite Campus, under whenever you log in, under the process alert area, you will see messages populating. If you're in the high school and you are working directly with the KTS Data Exchange, you should see these KTS messages. If you don't see any messages under the process alert area that says KTS error or any type of KTS Data Exchange message, then what you need to do, and I'm going back over here to the grade sync, the KTS Data Exchange webpage, and under the System Administrator heading, you'll want to click on the Data Exchange User Group Setup. This document right here, you'll need to grab that document, print it off or email it or whatever, forward it to your high school district Infinite Campus System Administrator. because what they'll have to do is follow the instructions on this document in order to add you to the correct KTS Data Exchange user group. Anyone who is added to this user group will be able to see KTS project error messages. So, and this is, if you're not seeing any messages, you'll need to make sure you're a part of that user group, and your Infinite Campus system administrator in your district will be able to help you out. Okay. So going back to the grade sync troubleshooting guide, that is the first thing that should be done at the high school. If you're not seeing grades coming in, what does the error message say? Is there an error message that you're seeing? The messages will tell you exactly what the problem is, down to the specific number, course number, and section. Sometimes people have some difficulty in deciphering those error messages. And what I say is, and it's unfortunate I don't have a copy of an error message that is showing. And even if I did, it would have personal identifiable information on it. So I can't really show it in today's session. But I will tell you that it has separate columns. The first column is always the 13-digit state course code that belongs to the course that is syncing to your high school. And then the second column is usually the course name. And then we go further down, and we've got dates that you'll see there. The dates that you'll see there are the dates that the technical school has set up in their grading window to sync grades. So don't mistake those grades for anything attached to your high school. The KTS start dates and end dates are actually the start and end dates, term end dates for the technical school. So just remember that. So you can look at those dates and say, okay, is the technical school trying to sync me current term grades, or are they trying to sync me previous term grades? And you can see that by looking at the date. If the dates reflect the previous term, then that might be the issue of why you're not receiving grades. And then you'll need to reach out to your technical school and have them modify their grading window. If you see that the dates are within the correct term date range that should be syncing to you, then that's probably not the issue. So then I look over, the next column that I'll look at indicates which grading task that the error is coming from. And it will always say, specify if it's the CTE term grade, the CTE final grade, or the CTE final exam. It will list it there in that error message. And the next to that grading task, it will list the actual error. What is the error? And the errors actually vary, and they can be anywhere from indicating that there is an issue with the no grading tasks no grading window is selected. It could be that there is actually a lot of different, but it's a pretty self-explanatory error message that pops up in that column. And if you ever have a problem understanding what that error message means, communicate with your technical school principal. And then if that technical school principal cannot understand what that error message means, then they can reach out to me and I can help assist with that. And then the last columns that you'll see there are the SSID numbers of the students that are affected, along with the grade that is trying to sync from the technical school to the high school. So the process alert area, looking for those KTS error messages are the very first thing that you should look for when it comes to troubleshooting. Like I said, if you've never seen any messages there, KTS messages there, then I would venture to say that it may be because you've never been given permissions by your Infinite Campus district person to see those. So then that's when you would share that document with them so they can help you. And I will say also, the technical school does not receive the same error messages as the high school. So if the high school has error messages populating because of a grade sync issue, the technical school is not going to see those. So that's why the communication is so important between you guys. So then the next step in troubleshooting is for both locations to check the grades report. Okay, and so the grades report is actually located under gradings and standards, then reports, then grades reports. And then once you get here to the grades report, you would select the grading term in which you're looking for grades. You would, if it's just one teacher that you're interested in looking for, you would select the individual teacher. If it's all of them, you would keep that selected for all. Select your preferences if you want to group. Excuse me. And then here's where you would select the grading task in which you want what you're interested in. If you're interested in your CTE term grades, they're the ones that are not syncing, then you would select that. And so from here, you would select if you're looking for all grades, or if you're looking for any grades that might be missing. You can also do a by grade, by score selection if you want, and this one will actually, you can go through and say, okay, I'm going to look for all the scores that are a 70, and then you can go through and select the 70 if you wish. But for our purposes, we want to make sure, we want to just check and see which grades are, if there are any grades there at all. Now I'm going to run this report and I'll show you what it looks like. And I will tell you that, okay, so if you are on the technical school side, if you're the technical school and you do not see any grades populating on this grade report, or very little, that means that your teacher has not posted grades. Now with the KTS Data Exchange, only posted grades will sync with the KTS Data Exchange. So if there are no grades showing, then there's nothing to sync, and so then that's your problem. So here's what it looks like when there's no grades to show for. I ran this again, but this time for term 1. Well, actually there are grades for term 1 here. Oh, sorry, let me uncheck quarter 4. Now let's run this again. Maybe I added grades there and I didn't realize it. It's going to prove me wrong. Okay, I must have grades there already. That's okay. Anyways, if you did not have grades in there that were posted, it would just say no posted grades available or whatever on the report. But if you have grades showing, they're going to show up there for you on the technical school side. So if they show up, then you know that that's not the issue. If you see that some grades are posted, but then you look at the numbers and you're looking at the actual report, and here, let me pull that up again. You're looking at the numbers and you're looking at the actual report, and this one's only 2 pages long, and you know you have 100 kids in your technical school, so there's no way that all your teachers have posted grades because you only have 2 pages of grades showing, then that means that you got maybe 1 or 2 teachers that have posted, but you know, you've got a lot of teachers that haven't. So if you're on the technical school side, then my recommendations are after that, after you run this grades report, is to run a KTS posted grade audit report. Okay, and that is KTS posted grade audit report. Okay, and that report is actually located under Kentucky State Reporting. Now, because I'm in a sandbox site, I don't think it's going to show, but it's under Kentucky State Reporting, KDE reports. It might show, let's see. There it is, KTS posted grade audit report. So this report is only available for the technical school principals and administrator, administrative assistants. So what this report does is you would select the grading task in which you were interested in, and you would hit generate report. And what it does is it allows you as the administrator or the administrative assistant to generate a list of your teachers that have actually posted grades for each of the courses and their sections that they teach. And so what it does is it lets you know that if when you pull it up, it will show you, and I can't pull it up because we're not in the middle of the school year anymore, but what it looks like, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has a list of all of the sections that are in the technical school. Next to that list of other sections is the teacher that teaches that section. And then if you continue on down the spreadsheet, you'll either see, if you see blank next to their name, under the grade and the last date posted and all of that columns, then that tells you that that teacher has not posted a grade for that course so far, for that section so far. If you see a date posted there, then that tells you that the teacher has posted a grade there, but it will show the date that the grades were last posted. So keep in mind, if you're a technical school, your teacher should be posting to the CTE term grade at least once a week. So if you log in here and you pull that report up and you see that Mr. Snape, Professor Snape, has not posted a grade to his section since June 30th, and it's July 15th, then I would say that Mr. Snape needs to be, addressed, because he's not posting weekly like he's supposed to post. If you see that Professor Snape doesn't have a date listed next to that report, then that means that Professor Snape hasn't posted a grade at all for that section so far. And so you'll need to have a conversation with Professor Snape and find out what is preventing him from posting. And then resolve that issue. But that report is really handy for technical school principals. It helps you to find out, how often your teachers are actually posting their grades to the CTE term grade. You can also run this report for the CTE final exam and the CTE final grade as well. The report pulls for the current grading window that you have pulled up. So what that means is, whatever you select here for the CTE term grade, you select for CTE term grade. If I go to Gradings and Standards, grading window, whatever active grading window I have open, that's what's going to pull up for that report. So quarter 4 grades are what are actually going to show on that report at this point. So that's actually a really good tool for the technical schools. For the high schools, first of all, I'm sorry, let's backtrack just a couple more minutes. So if the technical school runs this report and finds that the grades have not been posted, the grades cannot sync to the high school. So then at that point, this is where I'm saying you need to ask your technical school teacher to post their grades, and then you'll need to make sure that your grading window is set up correctly in order to send those grades. if you, as the technical school administrator or administrative assistant, runs that grades report and it has showing that there are grades there, then you want to make sure that you check and grades are not syncing, then it's telling you that you need to make sure that you check the grading window. You need to make sure that your grading tasks are set up correctly, and then you check the grading window. So here's what I would do first. I would check the grading window. I would go to my gradings and standards grading window, and I would make sure that my grading window is set up correctly. Now, how do you know that it's set up correctly? You're going to look at your dates to make sure, if it's a green schedule, then that means that that is an active schedule. If it's a pink schedule, then that means it's a closed schedule or a previous schedule. And then sometimes you'll see a blue schedule, and that means it's a schedule that has been made for a future date. So you'll want to look at your green schedules just to make sure that it's set up correctly. The first thing that I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit this because I want you to see what I'm talking about here. Well, here, let me cancel out of there and let me go in like I'm creating a window. And this is actually something for the high school and the technical school to pay attention at this point. So we're going to say that I'm going to add a new schedule. Okay. And I'm going to add it for my school. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft. And then I'm going to select the term in which I want my schedule to be selected. Let's say I want to go back to term 3 and I want my term 3 to be open. So I'm going to select next. And then it's going to say select a date and time to open and close. So I'm going to select today's date to open. Now I do have some messages coming up letting me know that they're outside of my calendar. This is, like I said, this is a test site. Obviously, Hogwarts is not a real school. I know some of you might be sad to realize that, but yeah, that's why those messages up there were just telling me that the dates that I'm selecting are outside of the calendar dates. So, when you're in your live site, you won't get that. Okay, so, and then I'm going to make my close date. Let's just say I want my close date to be on the 30th. Here, I got that message again saying it's outside of the dates that I have set in my calendar. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to hit next. Now it's asking me, this is the important part for both technical school and high school side when you're setting up your grading window for the KTS Data Exchange. You want to make sure that you only have all grade levels selected. You do not want to select specific grade levels and go down through here and check boxes. If you do that, then you're not going to have a successful syncing of grades. It's not going to happen. So you make sure that that all grade levels bullet is selected, and then you can hit next. And now it's asking me which grading task do I want to select this for. I want it for my CTE term grade. Now I'm going to save. So now when I do that and I refresh, it's going to show me that I have 2 active windows open. So one thing that causes errors, it causes grades not to sync from the technical school, and it causes grades not to sync into the high school, is when you have 2 active windows for one grading period open at the same time. So what I have to do here is, if I want quarter 3 grades to sync, I have to delete or close out quarter 4. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to select my active open quarter 4 window, and I'm just going to hit close now. Okay, and so now I've got that closed. So now any quarter 3 grades are going to sync between 7:15 and 7:30. All right. But now that I've done that on the technical school side, I need to contact my high school and let them know that they need to modify their grading window for the CTE term grade to match, so there won't be any errors. So that is when it says to check verify that the grading window has been properly scheduled at the technical school side. That is what that means. The parentheses where it says new, I need to update this. Ignore that. That was from last year when we had 2 grading window tools that we were going back and forth and using. Now that we just have this new grading window, now we no longer have the old active masked type of grading window. This new is obsolete at this point. I need to update this document. Haven't had a chance to do that yet, but just letting you know what that new meant, what it was referencing. Okay, so you've made sure that your grading windows are all corrected and they're properly scheduled. So now, like I said, the high school needs to run their grades report just as the technical school did, and they want to make sure they check for posted grades, not in progress grades, posted grades for the CTE term grade. So what I mean by that, you go to the grading window, I'm sorry, gradings and standards reports, grades report. Yeah, I think there used to be, I think they took it out now. I think there used to be a selection that you can make to run this report for in progress or posted, but it's not there anymore. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, you want to make sure that you on the high school side run this grades report on your side. If the grade is showing on the report, this means the grades have successfully transferred. The grades may not appear on the progress reports or report cards, and if that's your problem, if you're saying that grades aren't there because you're running report cards and not seeing them on your report card, that's a different issue. Okay, what we're concerned with is, are the grades actually syncing? So if you run this grades report and you see that grades are showing up on there, then you know that they are syncing. If they are not syncing, if they're not showing up on that report, then that tells me that there's either something going on the technical school side that is preventing those grades from syncing to you. And we've just previously gone over all of the scenarios for the technical school side. Or it could mean that you on the high school side have not completed proper setup of your actual grading tasks on the actual course. So that's a possibility as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back over to, this. So if you haven't completed proper setup on your grading tasks, then that will prevent your grades from syncing to you. So you might want to, if you've run the grades report and you're not seeing grades, and the technical school advises that yeah, we do see, we are seeing grades that are posted on our side, they should be syncing to you, then it might be a good idea for you guys to check your grading task tab for your courses to make sure that they're all set up. There's a document back on the KTS Data Exchange webpage called the KTS Grading Task Setup document. And if you open that, that walks you through how to properly set up your grading tasks in order to successfully set your course up, and which will enable you to receive your grades. Okay. So here's some additional information to keep in mind. For the KTS Data Exchange, we only utilize the CTE term grade, the CTE final grade, or the CTE final exam grading tasks. For every course, you should only use one of these grading tasks per course. So what that basically means is, if you're setting up your grading tasks, You don't want to have multiple CTE term grades listed there and set up. You only want to have one CTE term grade. You wouldn't want to have multiple CTE final grades. You should only have one. If you notice more than one of these grading tasks attached to your course, you'll need to reach out to KTS Data Exchange support for assistance. But also something to keep in mind is the grading window. Schedules must be set up in both the technical school and the high school databases in order for the exchange to happen. So I want to let me go back over here to the grading window, because I want to explain a little analogy that kind of helps. Okay, let's think of it this way. We're at the technical school and we've got posted grades, and we want these posted grades to sync to the high school. So what we're doing, think of it as, each grade is a little pigeon that is going to, the technical school is going to open up their window and physical window, and they're going to let that pigeon fly out that window over to the high school. And the pigeon is flying, and it has all those grades that it's carrying over, and it gets to the high school window, and the high school window is closed. So the pigeon just sits out there on the ledge and it can't come in. So that's the same scenario when it comes to the grading, how you set up the grading window tool. You have to make sure if the window on the technical school side is open for a particular term, then it has to be open on the high school side for that same term in order to receive the grade. Now, there might be a situation where the high schools received all their quarter 3 grades and, for a particular district, and they don't want to receive any more. And so they turn their window off because they just don't want to receive them. They're satisfied with the grades. They turn their window off. So in that case, if the technical school still has their side open, the pigeon flies out of the technical school window and it goes to the high school, and it just sits on the perch, sits on the ledge, and it doesn't go anywhere else because the high school's window is closed. The only time the grades will actually come into the high school is when the high school decides to open up their window as well. So that's why communication is really important between the technical schools and the high schools in order to understand which grades, which grading terms actually need to sync, and what the date, which terms you have open and date ranges that you have it open for, and so forth and so on. So that's something to keep in mind there. And then this is just, what I talked about. Keep in mind that for grades to successfully sync from the technical school to the high school, both entities must have the CTE term grade, CTE final grade, and or the CTE final exam grade grading test independently set up so they do not overlap in date ranges. Okay, and here's an example of what I mean about overlapping. And here's what I was talking about earlier. The blue represents a future schedule. So date ranges are significant, particularly when you have a technical school who services multiple high school districts. Multiple high school districts obviously are not going to be in the exact same term schedule. So in those cases, there might be some fluctuations that the technical school has to do. The technical school might have to turn on grading period 2 one day, and then turn that off and turn on grading period 3 the next day in order to accommodate all of their high schools that they service, depending on the dates. So that's where the communication, the importance of communication is. So just making sure that only the only the technical school sets up the grade calc options tab for the course. You do not have to do that on the high school side, because the grade that you're receiving from the technical school, the final grade you're receiving is already composited. So it's not necessary for you on the high school side to set that up. The high school side is not required to use the CTE numeric score group, but it is important for the high school to use a score group that matches the CTE numeric score group on the minimum percent column. And you have to have your GPA values set up. So what I mean by that is if you are a high school, and I'm going to go to gradings and standards, score groups and rubrics. If you're a high school and you're not using the CTE numeric score group that's been dumped into your database, you're using a different district score group, that is fine, as long as it matches the CTE numeric score group on the minimum value column. And this is the minimum value column right here. So the CTE numeric is set up on a in this way where it scores on the 0.5, and so anything above 0.5 then moves up to the next score. And so that's how your score group would have to be set up on the high school side in order to match with the grades that are trying to sync to you. So if there could be a grade sync issue that is due to this type of score group that you have decided to use on the high school side. If you are receiving a KTS error message that says something about score groups, then this is what it's talking about. It's talking about making sure that you're using an accurate score group that matches this one. Another error that I've seen relating to score groups is the zeros. So if you notice for I can't make this screen any bigger at this point, but for these three bottom lines here, these three bottom rows, you've got the score of 0 that has a minimum value of 0. You have a score of incomplete, I, that has a minimum value of 0. And then you have a score of NC, that has a minimum value of 0. So what happens with the KTS Data Exchange is when a student gets a score of 0, a minimum value score of 0, if the high school has multiple definitions for that minimum value of 0, it gets confused and it doesn't know what actual score to give to that student. And so sometimes you'll have an error message, and if it says anything about 0%, then that's probably what the issue is. The issue is that you probably have multiple definitions for the minimum value of 0 in your high school database. The solution would be either to delete your multiple definitions and only leave one. And if you did that at the high school, then that would allow those grades to sync in successfully. Or you could manually add those 0 scores yourself into your high school database. And you would do that by going directly into the students section. Okay, so going back, as I discussed previously, the report card templates at the high school must be updated to add the CTE term grade and CTE final grade grading tasks. So if you are a high school and you notice that grades are not printing on your report card, then check for this. Make sure your report card templates have the CTE term grade and the CTE final grade grading task selected on your report card templates. Because if you don't, then these scores will not print on high school report cards. So that would be a case where you run the grades report, you at the high school see the grades are there, but they're not printing on report cards. That's why. Check your report card template. Okay, so Always, if you continue to have issues, even after running through this GradeSync troubleshooting guide, the technical school principal, administrator, or administrative assistant will reach out to me with specifics, but I do need specifics about what the issue is. Additionally, I want to make sure that everybody is really careful not to share personal identifiable information through email, because that is a FERPA violation. So you want to make sure that if you do send me details, which I do want details, but you only send me like SSID numbers of students, not their names or their date of births or anything like that. Okay, so basically that is all for GradeSync troubleshooting. I hope you enjoyed this session, and you can always reach out to me if you have questions at tanya.fluke@education.ky. I'm sorry, education.ky. I'm sorry, hang on. Okay, hang on. I know I do have, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you'll want to reach out to me at tanya.fluke@education.ky.gov. Sorry. I don't email myself very much. Okay. Please do not send any emails to this KTS support. It's actually no longer a functioning email address. Make sure if you do have questions that you send it to tanya.fluke@education.ky.gov. All right. So like I said, I want to thank you again for your time and your attention, and I hope you all have a great conference and a great week.